Hey everyone, it's John Orlando from the PVD Cast, and I wanted to take a few moments of your time to let you know where you can find the PVD Cast. The online home of yours truly, PVDcast.com, is a great place to go, but it's also available through all the major podcasting platforms like Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, etc. There's also live broadcasts of the PVD Cast every single week. Mondays 8 p.m. Eastern through the Facebook page of the PVD Cast, and Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. through the Scene Snobs Facebook page. And no matter how you listen, please make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. And with that, I will chat at each and every one of you later.
The Jeff Dwoskin Show presents Crossing the Streams with host Jeff Dwoskin, Bob Phillips, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Sal D'Amelio, and Zach Wiseman, and today's special guest. Thank you for joining us as we talk about what we are streaming. Right here on Crossing the Streams.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Three Geeks interview with Jason and Justin. Today, we are honored to be joined by Wendy Stuart. Do you go by all three or just Wendy Stuart?
It's whatever you feel like. Some days it's Wendy Stuart. Some days it's Wendy Stuart Kaplan. Some days it's Fluffy. That's like my nickname in my email. So, yeah, I have a lot of names. It gets confusing, doesn't it? I have a question straight off the bat. So, if it's Three Geeks, am I the third geek?
You can
You
be
are.
honorary, yeah.
Happy to be here.
That's how it usually works. That's how most of our guests look at themselves, because it's always just Justin and I, or me and somebody else if Justin can't make it, and then the guest, and that's three.
It's all good.
So I was going to ask, how you got started and everything, but the first question I want to ask is, where did the nickname Fluffy come from?
So, you won't believe this, but I live in a New York City apartment with 2 Angora rabbits. Yeah, and they're big fluffy rabbits. And I have not been without a rabbit since college. I've never lived without a rabbit. This is a quirky thing you need to know about me. I love rabbits. And so I have been having pairs of rabbits the last years. And this pair is a bonded pair, Snickerdoodle and S'mores. And they're English Angoras, and they're big and fluffy. So being that I'm a rabbit person, that's where I got the Fluffy from. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
There you go. I'm so happy we're on the same page.
That is fantastic. So where are you from?
I'm from New York originally. I was born and raised in the Bronx, and then my family moved to Florida, and I didn't last long in Florida. Now I would love to be down there. I am not a winter girl, but I came up to go to school in upstate New York and then Nigeria. And then after that, I came back to New York City. So I am a diehard New Yorker. You are talking to a diehard New Yorker. They say New York strong, through thick, through thin. We're going through a rough period here in New York City right now, but we will come out of it stronger and faster and better than ever.
I'm sure.
All right. So what got you down the road to be an actor? And it looks like you do more than just acting, writing, directing.
Yeah. So you want me to go? Let's talk about all the hats that I wear. I'm an actress. I'm a model. I'm a stand-up comedian. I'm an improviser. I MC at clubs. I do film. I do theater. I do television. And I this year, because of the pandemic, had to reinvent everything that I did, because guess what, guys? There was nowhere to do that anymore. So I started out this year with like figuring, what am I going to do? They shut down New York March 12th. And by March 13th, I stood in my kitchen, and my husband is a videographer on the documentary films we make. And I said to him, I know, we'll do a cooking show. And he said, but you can't cook. And I said, exactly.
You can figure it out. Yeah.
Right. I shared with you everything that I do and everything I am. That show, Pandemic Cooking with Wendy, uses my acting ability, my comedic ability, my MC ability. I can be any character I want. It's my own show, and I can use all my performing costumes. And the only talent I have that I had to learn this talent was cooking, because I didn't have that one. And then also this year, I became a podcaster. I have 2 shows, 2 webcasts out there, which one is called Triversity Talk. It caters to the LGBTQ community and the issues there. And then in New York, I'm doing a show on location at a wonderful restaurant called Pangea. And I host that show with Tim Moss, who's an actor. And what we love about that show is we bring in amazing performers from all over the country, from Scott Page, from Pink Floyd, to Kenny Aronoff, the drummer. I had on Michael Musto last week, the writer and journalist. So, oh no, that was the week before. Last week I had on the gorgeous Sherry Nelson, Maxim girl. And she's such a beauty and a delight to work with. And it's just been great. I mean, I would not have these opportunities if the pandemic hadn't happened. Listen, the 3 of us, we wouldn't be here and be 3
Right.
geeks if the pandemic hadn't happened.
That's right.
So there you go.
The pandemic has sucked as far as, the deaths and so forth. But for our podcast, it has been a breath of it's like an injection of steroids. We've been just so much success since the pandemic started. Booking guests, like you said, we wouldn't be here talking if the pandemic never happened, because I wouldn't have met all the PR people I've met over the last 6 months.
Right. And all of the PR people are looking to get their people, like myself, on people's shows. But it's when I started being on people's shows, and I've always been a host. I've been an on-camera host, but there haven't been TV jobs. I thought, podcasting is a really great way to go to get your agenda out there. And something, I'm sure you guys realize this, even after the pandemic, these podcasts are going to live on because people love listening to them. And Jason, you brought out a good point. I mean, in the United States, we have lost over 500,000 people. That is awful. All right. People are messed up from this. But what takes your mind away from it when you can go on and just listen to, nonsense talk or informative talk or people talking about aliens, because a podcast can be anything, right?
Yeah.
And it lightens people's days. When I started doing Pandemic Cooking with Wendy, there were serious people I know in TV that said to me, how can you have a cooking show and call it Pandemic Cooking with Wendy? Who's going to watch a show like that? I'm like, that's the joke. It's like pandemic cooking. I mean, that it has come to this, right? That all of a sudden, all over the world, we are united by this one horrific thing. But being a comedian, what do? You take a tragic situation and you have to make it into something that's fun for people. And I think for me, the most humbling was doing the show and getting comments from New York. We had so many sick people, including myself. I had COVID, and hearing from people that watch the show how, please don't ever stop this. This is just making me feel so good. I turn you on. You're silly. You're funny. You make me, you make me laugh. And if you're podcasters, you know this. Laughter is still the best medicine.
For
to
sure.
do that, right? There's nothing better.
Yeah, when the pandemic happened, our podcast, not consciously, but it shifted more towards comedy than it was, because we used to get really geeky when we would talk, but now it's a lot more funny and upbeat and so forth. And that shifted started with the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. And funny and upbeat can be geeky. Geeky's great.
So what's your favorite dish you've made with pandemic cooking? Now I'm curious. What's
none of them. No, I'm just joking.
the macaroni? Yeah.
One of the dishes I love. So I also until we like couldn't even have people in our apartments, the first couple of weeks I was bringing people on, and Nurse Jet, my friend who was a front line nurse, came on the show in my tiny little kitchen, and we made truffle oil coated chicken. And it was the simplest recipe, and I can share it here. You take your chicken, you dredge it. I've learned, by the way, cooking vocabulary. Dredge it in flour, okay, which means you coat it in flour, and then you put it in a bag with, this is so cool, you guys, you're going to love this, crumbled up truffle potato chips. Easy to get, right? Brilliant. I guess the same way you would use cornflakes. And then you put the truffle oil in the bag too. And it's like, remember Shake and Bake, right? Shake and Bake, and I helped. It's just like that. You put it in there and you shake it up. The chicken becomes coated, and you put it in the oven at 350. God, I can't believe I remember this. What's happening to me?
Yeah. You're turning you a chef. Yeah.
Put it in the oven at 350 for 25 minutes on each side. And when you're done, you have a delicious dish. And what we did to complement it, we chopped up, and it's all healthy. I like cooking healthy. All kinds of root vegetables. There was eggplant and leeks and carrots and potatoes, and that went in the oven as well. So, you got an entire meal. I really love that. It's really tasty. But some of my favorite meals are the ones that I've worn ridiculous costumes for. One of the characters I do on Pandemic Cooking, nobody could go anywhere and still can't really for months. Yeah. So I would hold up a copy of Condé Nast Traveler magazine. Right? You guys get it, right? And talk about that we could go, but we can go there in our minds. And I did that as a character called Pandemic Pam, the flight attendant from Pandemic Airlines. And this character was so funny because I had a costume from the Halloween store. It was like a 1960s Pan Am flight attendant outfit, just totally cheesy looking. And I used that for the character. And on the flight, of course, all kinds of things would happen. People would be getting stoned in the bathroom. I would have to handcuff passengers to their seats. I would create the whole thing for you. But it still has to be about food. And I would make very simple dishes for that, like a little chicken piccata with mac and cheese, and serve it up in a tiny little plastic dish with aluminum over it. So we could recreate the feeling that you would have in coach class on the airlines. It was great. Yeah. One of the other characters I loved doing was going to India. And I made like chicken tikka for that. It was all Indian food. And I haven't, because I've traveled so much doing filmmaking, I have costumes from a lot of these places that I've never even worn. I had just, gotten them. This is how my intuitive brain comes in. There was a reason I was buying all that stuff, because here we go. In my kitchen during the pandemic, I've worn every single one of those costumes and then some. So yeah, this is what's gotten me through. And then around November this year, I was thinking, I am seasoned enough just from being out there. There's no TV jobs. I need to learn how to do a podcast. Well, I found out it was no different than anything else, but it was the technical ability of using platforms like StreamYard. That's easy for you guys. I am not a technical girl. I even wrote a song to Material Girl that I'm not a virtual girl living in a virtual world. Not for me. But, I probably took, they offer you like the free classes through StreamYard. I took 3 of them. And awesome. Eventually I got it. And it's no different than any of the other stuff I was doing. It's just like you bring guests on, you talk with people. Listen, to do this, you have to really enjoy meeting people. It's got to float your boat. And it definitely floats my boat. Would I love to be on stage interviewing somebody and have them right in front of me? I absolutely would. Sure. Would we all be together? Absolutely not. There's never going to be those budgets unless you're on, the Ellen DeGeneres level or any of those show hosts. There's never going to be those budgets. So how cool is this that we get to do this? And for the people listening, they're totally enjoying it. Your listeners love you guys, and I'm sure, and they can just geek out with you the same way I am. Let's do something geeky. Let's do something geeky.
What is your favorite TV show right now that you're watching?
So you're not going to believe this, Jason, but I am so busy. I don't watch TV. I am like booked on everybody's podcast, and then I'm booked as co-host on other things. Then I have 3 shows. Then I started out getting out in the real world again, believe it or not, the end of April. Things opened up somewhat. So I do live modeling jobs now and commercials because they were all using these COVID guidelines. So I've been able to pick up some work that way. And then all of the stuff I do, and you know this, you got to promote it. You got to promote it on all these platforms. And now I'm learning about getting sponsors. And it's an endless Pandora's box of things. So when would I watch TV? But your question, I've organized myself a little better. And to be quite honest, I do love films. And my daughter got us a subscription to Netflix. I'm like, what the heck? And then you get addicted.
Yeah.
So I try not to watch the ones that are the series. We just watched The Queen's Gambit. I didn't realize that was 9 or 10.
Sure.
And ended up going, starting at 7 at night and going to bed at 4 in the morning, and I still hadn't finished it. There were 2 left over. And then I was obsessed the next day that I had to watch this. I shouldn't be doing that with my time. So now, right, because it makes me guilty. So now I'm just watching, just movies. And they have really great horror movies. Do you guys like horror movies?
I do.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, God, they've got some really good ones on there. They're Haunting. It was, I think,
The Hill House?
That's old school for me. I've seen every version of that. I think there's 3, but the one I really like was The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And I love those. And then last night, so what do I love? I love horror and I love animals. The documentaries we make are about animals. And last night did you watch the one about the octopus?
No, what's it about?
Not yet.
Yeah, it's really quite incredible. This filmmaker is burnt out being a filmmaker. This is a documentary, so it's true.
Yeah.
And he looked to me like he had a little breakdown in there. And he decides that he loves being underneath the ocean. So he's going to take a break from life and just go. And he was a free dive snorkeler. So he's underwater for long periods of time with a snorkel, and the footage, of course, he's a photographer. He had someone else with him. Footage is gorgeous, but here's what ends up happening. He meets this octopus. Now, I don't know how much you know about octopus.
Oh, they're smart.
They're smart, right? Well, right. I know that. Some people know that, but I didn't know how smart. You have to see this. It's almost a year he has this relationship with this octopus. So much so, he went down every day that, she would come out of her den where she lived. And at one point, I will admit, he got teary-eyed talking about it. And I felt my eyes well up. The octopus comes out and touches him. Look at me. I'm pretending.
Yeah. Is that it?
This teacher, thank you. You're quick. Thank you. That is great. I love that you flashed that on there. And she starts touching him. Mm-hmm. It was such an amazing moment. And why was she the teacher? Well, he was questioning his values in life. They never, being a person that makes documentaries and watches documentaries, what I wanted to know what was so terrible in his life. They never told you that. He just said he got burnt out being a filmmaker and he was looking for other things. But the octopus became his teacher because what she did is she just turned him on to what was in the ocean and how fragile life was. And for him, it was connecting with, she had freaking tentacles. Okay. Let's get down to basics. How many of us have touched something with suction cups and tentacles?
Yeah, not often. Yeah. If I had, not often.
To do that. And I found myself watching him and thinking, oh my God, I would love to be that person, because my husband and I make documentary films, and the last film we made, Whispers and Witnesses, was about primate rescue in Cameroon, and getting like that close to a gorilla or a chimpanzee, literally 6 feet apart in a rescue center. And the connection, that's what that octopus did. The octopus connected. And when we make films about primates, they share 98% of our DNA. And when you look into their eyes, a gorilla or even a chimp, you see it. You see it, something so primal, it will send chills up and down your spine. So, oh God, I'm sure they told you I go off on tangents, but you all are great. You're following right there with me. So I love the octopus movie. So tell me, what are some of the fun movies that I need to look forward to on Netflix?
The Queen's Gambit was a good one. We actually interviewed one of the guys from that show. He was.
Oh, which one did you? Which guy?
Ryan Winchert.
What did he play?
I'm looking up his character name right now because I can't think of it off the top of my head. Hilton Wexler.
I can't remember. Was he the sleazy guy?
I don't think so. I'm looking. I'll pull up a photo for you.
He had an affair with a cousin.
Just because he has a sense of humor, yes, he is a sleazy guy. It's all good. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. He was great.
It looks like you had somebody from there on your show, though. I'm sure he was so happy to be on too.
Yeah, he was nice, super nice guy. We also WandaVision was pretty good. We watched that recently.
That's not on Netflix. She
Netflix. Yeah.
So I would check out Ozark but you're trying to get away from TV shows, right?
I'm avoiding the TV shows, but I did watch. Speaking of Ozarks, I watched Hillbilly Elegy.
All right.
Right, right? You got that one?
I just know the way you said
that right. You got it. That was entertaining. I haven't seen a bad movie on Netflix, but please, if you can give me some movies that you've really, really liked, that would be great. Did you watch the one about the hotel? I think it is a series, but the hotel that kills everybody. I'm dying to watch that one.
I have not watched that one.
Hotel that kills everybody. Now I'm interested.
It's like the Hotel Cecile, and it's in LA. And they just interview a lot of people that have a lot of stories that can't be. I like that, stories that can't be explained.
Oh, the Cecil Hotel, yeah, that is interesting. Yeah,
that's the one. And let me think. What are some of the other ones? Well, what are some of the other ones you've watched?
Trial of the Chicago 7 was really good.
Did that one right. So I've seen anything that's up for an Academy Award. I've seen those because my husband is in the Directors Guild, and they actually sent us the DVDs to watch, to vote on. So yeah, all of those.
Did you watch? Sorry, did you watch any of the documentaries, like the Tiger King, or that was big in the beginning part of the pandemic?
Oh, that's so funny. You're right there, Justin. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. I was hearing people talk that was in the beginning, before I had podcasts or anything, right? Mm-hmm. I was getting it all together. So I did watch Tiger King, and I thought, what a piece of dreck. This is like a commentary on human beings in this country. Oh my God, on so many levels. And it was not my cup of tea.
Sure.
But it was certainly, somebody fun that you could be for Halloween. And I'm sure will live on as a Halloween costume. Yeah. And what was the woman's name on that show? What's her name again?
Oh, Carol Baskins. Yeah, Carol Baskins. Yeah.
Carol Baskin. I mean, she is just a trip and a half. You can't believe these kinds of people are real, but honestly, I think that is how they are in their real life. And
for sure, I'm not sure you can be that crazy and not be for real.
You think Carol Baskin killed her husband?
Trying to cancel our podcast. I mean, probably.
Her husband, I thought she did too. That'll probably be a whole separate season that they'll bring back, and then it'll be all about people that they'll bring on that had suspicions about her, and then ultimately they'll find the body in a shallow grave. They're always in a shallow grave when you find them, right?
The digested tiger bones, yeah.
Right. Digested tiger bones.
Have you watched the Fire Festival from Netflix? A documentary around the Fire Festival. Have you heard of the Fire Festival?
No, tell me what it is. Is it like
it was a scam artist, at least in my opinion, a scam artist that set up kind of an island getaway for fairly rich people to have like a concert. Like he brought in a whole bunch of people, and then it just fell flat. It just yeah. I would check. There's a Netflix documentary. You should watch it. I liked it. There's one on Hulu too. Yeah.
So is he in jail or anything?
I believe so. I don't know if he's gotten out, but he definitely was facing some jail time. I forget the tail end of the movie, but yeah.
I remember reading about this scam.
Yeah.
It was in the Caribbean, wasn't the festival in the Caribbean?
Yeah, they promoted. They got him in trouble from what I remember. It got him in trouble because they were promoting one of Escobar's islands. They said they bought one of Escobar's islands, and they got him in trouble, and they had to go find a different place. Yeah.
How far will you go with the scam? That's amazing. So have y'all been anywhere since this whole thing started?
It's funny that you asked that because we just got back from Jersey yesterday.
Oh, you went to New Jersey, my neck of the woods.
It's funny because we ran into Eileen there, and I've never seen a picture of Eileen. Like, I've always just communicated with her through email. We're even Facebook friends. But for some reason, I saw a lady at where we went to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. I'm like, God, that lady looks so familiar. And then after we left, I'm checking Facebook, and I see her posting photos with them. And I'm like, oh, my God, that's the PR lady we work with, guys. And
right. I saw her pictures. And wasn't she promoting Soho Johnny's book?
Yes.
Yes. So now this all totally makes sense to me. So what brought you up to New Jersey to go to that? Well, tell me what your connection was. That's so cool.
We emailed Ernie O'Donnell from the movie series that Kevin Smith directed.
Okay.
He's in all of the movies. And he told us it was going on. And I messaged Justin. We have a mutual friend that lives down there named Stacy Toy.
Okay.
So he's a movie producer. And I'm like, well, let's see if we can grab lunch with Stacy. We'll go check out the new comic book store and maybe chat with Ernie a bit. And we went down there, and it was awesome.
But wasn't it cool? What a cool thing to do. First of all, you got away. You drove, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How far a drive is it from Ohio?
9 hours, roughly.
Wow.
Well, that's with pit stops. It took us 9 hours to go. It's probably 8 hours if you were just flying.
Pit stops along the way. But you know what? Good for you. You jumped out of your comfort zone and you did something cool and supported what looked like a really fun, great event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. We got to meet Kevin Smith briefly, which was pretty cool.
Very cool. Really, really cool. I had seen the pictures of that. So I'm like, where is this? Because there hasn't been, as you know, much happening anywhere. I actually am going to Florida the middle of April, and I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be my first trip in over a year and a half. I can't believe it. You know, we used to going to really exotic places to make these films about remote things, people, places, and things that no one would know about unless we went and told them about it. And, I'm definitely an out of the box person. So being here in New York through this pandemic, it's tough. I'm looking forward to going on the road again. You know, they're saying by this summer, things should be loosening up, lightening up. But in terms of leaving this country, I don't know, because now they are in lockdown in other places. That's what you have to think of these days. You know, where are you going to go? When is this virus going to be over? Oh my gosh, these are the things that keep me up at night. Well, who knows? Maybe I'll even come to Ohio to visit you because I have been to Ohio before because that's where Jerry Springer started.
Yeah.
I was a guest on the Jerry Springer show.
Whoa, way to bury the lead. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I was a guest on the Jerry Springer show, and this was before it was about baby mamas and who's your daddy, and before people were beating each other up on the show.
The first episode was with her.
It was like when he was in Ohio, and he was very lovely, and they were looking for someone that had just a really bizarre relationship with one of their pets. And I happened to have a cockatoo that at that point was sleeping sometimes in the bed with us. And she was very bonded to both my husband and I. You guys know that's the white bird with the crest. Yeah. It's a parrot, highly intelligent. So Jerry called this segment, "My Parrot is Ruining My Life." And they gave me tickets to fly there with the bird and be on the show. But what happened was we ran into some kind of issue with flying with the bird. That's kind of funny. That's an oxymoron.
Yeah.
The bird and fly.
Just follow me.
Yeah, right. Just follow me. So Jerry said, listen, why don't you just make some videotape about the bird and, the crazy things that the bird did with us. So we did. I made a little tape and we brought that on the show. And you know what? It was great and it was fun. And of course, he asked Jerry Springer questions like, well, what's it like sleeping with a bird? And, it was all innuendos about the bird. So it was shortly, I guess, after that Jerry went down that primrose path to hell, and the rest is history. But I can honestly say, I know, Jason, you're disappointed. Jason was looking for something more than a little story about a bird that sleeps in bed with a married couple, but that's the best I could come up with. Nice stories. However, if you have read my book, She's the Last Model Standing, which is available on Amazon, it is chock full of dicey stories. My book is about coming to New York in the 80s after college, and my book opens up in Nigeria, where I was going to school, and the crazy things that were happening to me being, a New Yorker with long blonde hair down to her waist in a country that I didn't speak the language, although that's not totally true. I was going to school there and I was learning Yoruba. But it opened up in the northern part of Nigeria. Thank you. You guys are great. I love you. God, I wish you were available to be on my shows and just do this.
Just produce it. Yeah.
I'm always
I have
available.
actually a great producer on one, and on the other one, my co-host on Triversity Talk, Stephen Teague, he produces. He's a host. This guy does everything, but he also has one of those quick. He's quick. He can do it. I still write. I'm holding up. Look how homebound I am with holding up a book, and you just pulled up the picture. So my book opens up in Nigeria, and the area that I was in, you all know about the Boko Haram, right? When everyone heard about those schoolgirls, they just did another round of kidnapping schoolgirls, a couple of hundred, but I heard that they were released. But yeah, they were kidnapping these schoolgirls. Well, that was the part of the country in Nigeria I was in. And when you're 20 years old, you just think everybody's being really nice to you. And there were so many nice men there that were really nice to me. Little did I know that there was one American guy named David, and this is in my book. And miraculously, David seemed to pop up anywhere I was in Nigeria. Well, we came to find out he worked for the CIA.
Oh.
And Americans being there, even though we were in school, it was myself, my boyfriend, and 4 other students. There were a lot of questions that were asked. But we were in the northern part of Nigeria, where the group that was before the Boko Haram, I forgot what their names were, but I mean, it was right out of a movie. They would gallop into town on horseback with sabers on their sides and their heads completely wrapped in dark cloth. You could just see their eyes. And I would think, oh, wow, how cool is that? I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I was swimming in somebody's pool up there, a very wealthy local person. As I said, everybody was very nice to us. We were students there, and I certainly stuck out because of the way I looked. And people would invite me to their homes. I was in someone's pool, and he was laughing with his friends. And I'm like, what's so funny? And he said, oh, you should have seen what was in that pool a few weeks ago. And I said, well, what was in the pool? And he said, well, they murdered a bunch of people here, and it was filled with blood.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And those are the kinds of things that happened to me. But again, think about when you were 20, 21 years old.
I wouldn't have thought about it at all. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like, this is so cool. Nothing's going to happen to me. But in my life, I have a guardian angel on my shoulder that I've always known that. And I came back from Nigeria and I got into modeling. And that's what this book is about. It's called She's the Last Model Standing, because here we are X amount of years later. decades, and I am still modeling, and I'm still standing, and they have come and they have gone, and I'm still here. And let me tell you, it has been no cakewalk. I started out, and the comedy, we started out the show talking about, right, comedy from tragedy. I was turned down by every single model agency in New York. And then I had the brilliant idea, well, maybe they'll like me better in Paris. So I went to Paris, where they turned me down. Then I went to Italy, where I got actually taken by an agency. And unbeknownst to me, they represented prostitutes and transvestites.
Nailed it.
I thought tall and beautiful. I'm like, oh my God, they're so skinny. And by the time I got to Italy, let me just say, I am 5'8", but I had eaten myself up to 140 pounds, full of rejection. So once I came to the realization that none of this was happening for me, my guardian angel brought me back to New York, where I did finally get accepted by an agency. And that's what the message is in this book. Guess what, everybody? When you get turned down, when you get rejected, if you have a dream, you just have to follow it through. Oh my God, this is great. Where did you pull this picture from?
Google.
You pull that up on Google. I'm so impressed. This is like a whole different kind of podcast. This is great. This is like when a person's talking and you can pull things up from everywhere. I'm totally loving this. It's like you have my photo albums and you're going into my closet. By the way, I have 250 photo albums. Oop, but I just got off on another tangent. Okay. So going back to the book, it's got every horrific modeling job that I've had in it. One of the first jobs I had, they told me I was going to be representing a chicken restaurant. I was very excited. No one told me what I was going to actually be doing. That I was going to be standing in a chicken costume on the cooking tails, handing out menus and hearing remarks like "nice breasts." It was just, I had every horrible job. Yeah. Yeah. And that went on for a really, really long time. I'm sure, like you've noticed when you go in a department store, they have perfume sprayers. Mm-hmm. Well, back in those days, if you were starting out in modeling, that was like one of the things that you just did for extra money. You had to have your survival jobs, and you used to be able to survive on those jobs. So I would be standing in Bloomingdale's, and the brand I was representing was Chloe. Have either of you ever smelled Chloe?
I have not.
Very, very sweet, like dead grandmother. Okay. So I had to spray this stuff on people all day long. And most of the time, people are just freaking avoiding you. They don't even want you coming near them. And I'd be there going, would you like a spray of Chloe? Would you like a spray of Chloe? Oh, would you like a spray of Chloe? And of course, that was total rejection. They were like running. And then all of a sudden, this very handsome, very well-dressed man comes up to me and he says, "You're so beautiful. I'd like a spray of Chloe." And I was, oh my gosh, I was like so touched. And I take my Chloe and I'm telling him to give me his wrist, and I spray his wrist, and he looks at me and walks behind my counter, unzips his fly and starts urinating on the floor.
Oh my gosh. Talk about Randy.
Oh, it was like, and it was Christmas time. It was like, can this get any worse? And I remember I didn't even know what to say. And the other girl working there, I remember her screaming in Bloomingdale's, right? It's so highbrow. She's screaming, "Security, security, there's a man peeing at the Chloe counter." It was like so incredible. One of those situations but again, here I am. And I ended up having so many great jobs after this. And my book is about, I got into movies. I worked, do you know Trauma Productions? Do you know them?
Yes.
Okay. So they did movies like Toxic Avenger and Squeeze Play. That was my very first film, I can proudly tell you, from Trauma Productions. It was called Squeeze Play. It was about a girls softball team that takes over a small town. And I was part of the girls softball team. I had not one line, not one. And
did you have a sweet fastball? Sorry.
Huh?
Did you have a sweet fastball?
No, I never even threw a ball, because what this whole movie was about was a wet T-shirt contest. Right?
Oh, all right then.
First of all, softball team. They're like wet T-shirt contest. And Lloyd Kaufman, he's incredible to this day. And I love this guy. I will never forget this. First of all, it was a non-union film, so there were no guidelines. We would be picked up at like 5:00 in the morning. We shot in Lodi, New Jersey, returned back to our houses at midnight, and then picked up again at 5:00 in the morning. And I can remember all of these wet t-shirt contest scenes with Lloyd Kaufman yelling, "Okay, hose them down." It was like a nightmare. You would be trying. It just to this day it sticks with me. I'm telling you, I can remember the feeling of that cold water for like the 8th time that day at 11:00 that night. And you know, when you're on a really good film, you get craft services, which the film is had crew. You get such amazing meals. You often have an incredible chef on set and all of that. This was not like that. It was bologna sandwiches and Little Debbie cakes.
Plenty of water, though.
Right. It was like, there you go. We were just, you can flush your system out with that one. But you know what? It was one of the things you do when you're paying your dues. Yeah. And I went on to do another film for them that I had 6 lines in, and I played the assistant to the lead businessman in the film. And my character was Miss Watkins, described as a sexy secretary that most of the time just said, "Yes, sir," and wrote everything down in a low-cut dress, and wrote everything's in a low-cut dress when you're starting out. And I had to write down everything he said on a pad. Okay, easy enough, you know, and it was fun. Mm-hmm. So they finished the film, and Lloyd Kaufman calls me up. He said, "Listen, we're doing a junket tour." I'm like, "What's a junket tour?" I had no idea what that was. It was Allentown, Pennsylvania, Houston, Texas, Evansville, Indiana, and Henderson, Kentucky. And I'm like, "Oh my God, that's cool." I said, "Well, what am I going to do on the tour?" He said, "Well, the film is opening up there, so you're going to be in malls. And before the film opens, you're going to be signing autographs, and you're going to get a lot of press. You'll go on radio shows and all local TV shows." And I'm like, "But what am I going to say?" And he says, "Well, you're billed as the star of the movie." He said, "You're the up and coming star of the movie." I said, "But I'm not the star of the movie." See, I have a real big truth sense. I'm not a bull person. I said, "But I'm not the star of the movie." And I said, "An up and coming what?" He said, "You're up and coming, okay?" No. So what they would do is they would, you know, put me on all these shows before the film opened. Then I would go in the mall, and I have these adorable little girls that, you know, completely idolize a New York actress. I was such an imposter. I'm like, "Oh my God, how do I put my head on the pillow at night?" And I had 8x10s that I would sign, you know, "Best of luck, Susie. Hugs, Wendy." It was so awful. These little tweens that were believing in you. But you know what? I had a blast, and the film would open. I was long and gone, and no one ever came after me. So yeah, so I guess it was all good. But all of these stories are in my book, and there's endless amounts of stories in my book. Now, you didn't ask me, which everyone asked me. One of the things I'm known for, I do work as a model, and I do regular modeling jobs, but I'm very well known as a fit model. And people always say, "What's a fit model?"
Mm-hmm. What's a fit model?
Okay, what's a fit model? So you probably think it's a fitness model, right?
That's my thought, yeah.
Right, everyone thinks it's that. It's actually not. What a fit model is a person, in my case, that's a size 8 that represents what they call an American size 8. I have the measurements that are fit a lot of people in America. And stores like JCPenney can carry my clothes, or any of the Macy's, any of those. And I work for a lot of different brands as a size 8. And I work with their designers, and I tell them how to make the clothes fit. So, okay, I love breaking it down for people. So, you know, when you see beautiful clothes on a runway in Paris, that the model is a size 0 and she's usually 16 years old. How do you take and get that to fit a normal human being? That's my job. I work with the designer who designs that garment, and I kind of tell them the measurements that they have to make the garment, and then we get the first sample made, and then I put it on, and then we tweak it from there. I'm like, "Oh, it's a little tight here, it's a little too big there," and then even things like, you know, maybe on the runway it's super low cut, but for like a JCPenney customer, you don't want it that low cut. You want it a little higher. So that's my job to do that. So yeah, and I've done that for a very long time. I've worked with a lot of major brands out there to make their clothing fit American women. And the best thing anyone can tell me is, hey, I bought this from so-and-so, I put it on and I felt like $1,000,000. So I'm like, yay, I did a good deed.
Sure,
So
that's awesome.
Make you laugh. You know what I say? I cover the asses of the masses. Right. There you go. That's me. Oh, this is so great. The way this is immediate gratification. You're going to be pulling up. I don't know what you could pull up anything. You Google me, anything could come up. I'm a little afraid here today.
There's nothing that I found that you should be scared of.
Heaven only knows what you could find.
Yeah, what?
So how did you guys get into this crazy, crazy world of podcasting?
I'm obsessed with movies and TV.
That makes sense.
That's the best way to describe it. I have been my whole life. And as soon as interviews and stuff was able to be brought into it, I immediately jumped on it.
Perfect, right? Yeah. So you love to interview people.
I do.
And Justin, what about you?
Well, podcasting, they'd already been doing the 3 Geek stuff for a while before I kind of joined on. And I've been friends with another 3 Geek person named Max for a long time. And he said, hey, I think you'd be fun and you'd enjoy it. And I enjoy talking to people. And this is fun.
And you like talking to people. And what did y'all do before this? Like you know everything about me. I don't know a thing about you. What did you do? Like, what path were you on? I'd love to talk about the path that people are on.
I still work for a day job. I work at Safelight. And prior to that, I owned a video store. Oh,
but see, that's why I asked the question. If you were on my show, look at that brilliant little treasure of information that I just got from you. Because now this is so great even for listeners. You owned a video store because you're passionate about film. And here you are having a podcast where you can interview people that are in those films. That, Jason, is everything.
Well, yeah, the podcast taught me how to talk to people because I used to be super shy, beyond super shy.
Right. So and so it brought you out of your shell, which is great. Justin, were you ever in a shell?
No, I'm a pretty loud human in general. Just
that's a lie.
I can be.
I mean, the weekend with you were pretty quiet.
Well, I can be loud. I was in theater in high school. I was also a football player. And kind of going through there, but I've been in technology for a career for the past 10 years. So that's been fun. Yeah.
So you're a tech geek. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's totally cool. This is all, as I told you here, I'm being forced, down that tech, kicking and screaming the whole way. But I even amaze myself what I've learned, Yeah. The thing I love about StreamYard, I take every class they offer.
That's awesome. Yeah.
They pop up on my feed all the time, and they've got all kinds of little webinars and things like that. And you learn from other people as well. I like the way you just move those pictures in there, though, just on cue. That's pretty impressive. Actually, that's quite easy to do on StreamYard, though. This is a platform.
Oh, yeah, Jason. Not very impressive.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
It's just not very so I'm curious what's going on in your lives, like with the pandemic. How have you been impacted in your jobs and the things that you're doing?
My job has me work from home, and as I was saying earlier, I'm not super social person outside of my house. So that hasn't really changed a whole lot for me. But when the pandemic hit, we were scheduled to do 6 live shows for the podcast, and it all got canceled within a day, which sucked because it was a lot of work to get booked on all those live shows.
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. Were you bringing in people that were local to Ohio that you wanted to have on the show?
No, we were doing live at Comic-Cons, doing our podcast live.
Oh, you were traveling to, right. You were going to locations. Yeah. That is, see, there are a number of people I've worked with that have not left the security of their own little home, but with anyone that was working on location, it really became problematic for. So you were doing Comic-Con and stuff like that. That's great.
Yeah, Justin's only been able to do one, I think, Comic-Con.
Yeah, I did Wizard World with you guys. Yeah, it was fun.
Well, you know,
And
but listen, that stuff's going to open up again. This summer, when our numbers were down, I knew I had to get pandemic cooking out of my kitchen because I was ready to jump out of my skin. So I got a visor, and I had, of course, a mask. And I had a couple of friends that I knew who were playing it pretty safe. In other words, they weren't seeing a lot of people or whatever. And I knew they also had either very large kitchens or outdoor space. And that was how I solved the problem. I just wanted to make things interesting for my viewers. But, you know, there were also people that said, what are you doing? You're standing next to a person. And I've gotten that throughout the thing. Early on in the pandemic, I had Nurse Jed come on my show, and we were together in the kitchen. With me not knowing that I already had COVID, being a nurse was probably already had antibodies. I had picked it up, probably being on the subways in New York.
Sure, for sure.
I didn't give it to anyone except my whole family. We all came down with it at the same time. And if there was a plus side to it, we all had antibodies after, which I coasted on for months. And the other thing that wasn't so good is, and this is going back to the cooking show, I lost my smell and taste for 7 months.
Oh no, that's terrible.
I know it was terrible, and people are like, don't let anyone know that.
Yeah,
You're gonna lose all credibility as a cook. So I'd be tasting stuff on the show going, oh my God, this is delicious. I couldn't taste
eating oatmeal.
I know. I couldn't taste a thing, and it didn't come back until like the fall of this year. So here we are. We are all in a year in, and I'm hoping. I don't know if you heard this, but I heard this. Things are going to open up more in July, which would be great. Do you have any plans to go on the road then?
Oh yeah, as soon as I'm allowed to.
Yeah.
I will weather the storm. Even if I just bring the guys with me virtually, I will travel these cons.
Well, I think Ohio opens up vaccinations if that interests you in March, Jason, end of March. So if that's allow you to travel sooner is all I'm saying.
Yeah. I've had both vaccinations already, so I'm
itching for it.
They've been on it, and they've really been on it in New York. You know, they totally had it together here, even though, here we have technology again. So you would register on all these sites, and then they would, that pop-up that would be like, yes, appointments available. And you click on it and there'd be nothing. And it would have been, oh my gosh. And they've got to be going through it in Ohio too.
Sure.
Day after day after day, till you finally realize, okay, if I try this at 5 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning, I might have a fighting chance. And that is exactly what you have to end up doing. So there you go. That's the secret. That's the ticket. I am telling all on your show today. My God.
Right. Yeah. Just start reading your book. It'd be great.
Yeah, right. Here we go. Here we go again. Right. My book. Oh, my book, you know what? It's got really cool pictures in it of like me. Yeah, that's the cover, but it's got inside pictures in it as well. And I think people like it. It makes people laugh. I make people laugh. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, right?
You've made us laugh, and that's great.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. I want to first off thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Thank you.
Where can everybody find your book, and what do you got coming next? Okay,
so my book and my handles. Which do you want first? I got a lot of handles.
Whatever is you want to do.
Okay, a lot of handles, ladies and gentlemen. My book is on Amazon. It's called She's the Last Model Standing. You can get it on Amazon. And there is a Kindle edition for those of you that like Kindle. You can find me on Facebook under Wendy Stuart. So far, it's mostly single guys that try and track me down that have no friends. So please don't be one of those. Single guys with no friends, or I love this, widowed with like pictures of 3 kids. Excuse me, go away. Or someone with a name I can't even pronounce in a country that, like, you know what, we can't even be pen pals, so that's not going to work. But if if you think that there's a chance we can communicate, I am Wendy Stuart on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram, and please follow me on Instagram. I'm using my Instagram more and more. I'm finding it a lot of fun and great pictures. And on Instagram, I am She's the Last Model Standing. On Wendy Stuart on Facebook, go to Visual Journeys, our stories, and you can read about the films that we do. And I have a lot of interviews on there as well. My YouTube channel is my pride and joy. My gosh, my YouTube channel is Wendy Stuart TV. All of my personal podcasts that I do are on there, which are Pandemic Cooking with Wendy, Triversity Talk, and If These Walls Could Talk. And then there's all the podcasts that I have been guests on, and it's been over 100 since the pandemic started. Blew my mind when I realized that. And then there's the shows I've co-hosted on. Then there's the theater productions where there's no one around and I've been alone on the stage. So I'd be safe. Those are on there too. So please subscribe, pretty please, with sugar on top. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. What else is there? Oh, Twitter. You know what? I have yet to really connect to Twitter. I share tweets. I'm not a tweeter, but anyway, I'm on there under Wendy Stuart. So yeah. And what's next for me? I have a lot of next. My shows that I'm doing just keep getting bigger and bigger, and I'm building audiences. So please tune into If These Walls Could Talk. That's Wednesdays at 2:00, and it is on Wendy Stuart TV on YouTube. That's easy. You can also catch on Facebook Live on Tim Moss, my co-host. Triversity Talk is on the Triversity channel on YouTube. My God, YouTube should be giving me something for all.
That's right.
But Triversity Talk on YouTube, and we have a lot of really great people from all over the country in the LGBTQ world that are really making a difference. Fun show. Please tune into that as well. Pandemic Cooking with Wendy. It's right on my YouTube channel. I have I'm just put up episode 104. Can you believe it? Unbelievable. And what's next for me are all of those shows. So please tune in, subscribe. And we're working on a film, Working Dogs, a love story about therapy dogs and rescue dogs. And the most recent shoot we've had has been on pandemic puppies, the amount of people getting dogs to get them through the pandemic. Oh my gosh, I am out of breath. You guys have been great.
Yeah, Wendy Lotta Handle Stewart. I get it. That's a good name.
It's all good. Do you have pets?
I'd love to get a dog, but no, I do not have a pet.
Okay.
And that's our show, everybody. Thanks for listening. I am Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob. We always appreciate you guys tuning in and commenting along and everything else. Go check out this show or any of our other shows on thescenesnobs.com. Thescenesnobs.com. We love you. You guys are awesome. And if you would like, follow and subscribe to our social media. That really helps us go a long way. And please spread the word. Tell your friends. Have them come in. We love feedback and everything else. So everybody, you have a great day. Again, thanks for listening. Thescenesnobs.com. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.